And we're back!
Yep!
Welcome to the Fame! We're here every Saturday night live at 5 p.m. Justin Ray Williams has the night off, but I'm here with the man, my man, Dendy Brooks.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chris.
And we got the rest of the crew in as usual. We got our warrior, Big Nasty.
What up, what up?
And we got the funny man, the world of comedy winner,
we're
Tommy Donovan.
We're at full strength tonight.
Yes, sir. And behind it all is Mr. Ed Lees. So, hey, we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. We got some great guests. But, Denny, let's talk a little bit about what just happened with our man, Mr. Everett, getting a Hall of Fame induction.
Absolutely. We inducted Leon Everett into the South Carolina Entertainment Music Hall of Fame this past Saturday at the Greg Rolls Theater in North Myrtle Beach. And it was an amazing show. Leon put on a school. You know, he's 77 years old.
I don't believe him. I said I need to see his birth certificate. He does not look like 77. Doesn't act like it. Doesn't sound like it. So much great energy. What a great dude.
No, he showed out that night.
It was a lot of fun.
We had a lot of fun with the Casey Kasem experience as well. It was a great night.
You know, that theater is pretty cool, right? They have this wall up in the back. It's like you're living in the theater with the scenes behind it. They spent quite a bit of money on it, and you can tell it really is fantastic.
By my estimate, that's about $150,000 LED wall.
Yeah, that video wall is pretty amazing.
It's up there. I talked to them. It's really close to that. I mean, but what an experience, right? And there's no bad seats in the house. All the seats are comfortable. The front lobby is beautiful. They did a really nice job with that theater.
Yeah, they spent probably 2 years, I'm guessing, remodeling that place.
Yeah, and Greg Rolls, what a great guy he is, huh?
Salt of the earth. He's amazing.
You know, I saw him for the first time when you guys were on Fox, but then getting to meet him that night and talk to him some more. What a good dude. So we got some pretty cool stuff coming up. Let's talk about the PAC a little bit. What you got going on at the PAC Theater, including our big event on June 21st.
Absolutely. Pitch to Pros is going to be there on June 21st. Just before that, we got Killer Bees from Killer Bees Comedy. He's going to be there. You saw him on Moonshiners. And then coming up in August, we have Shelley Belly. You know her from Netflix's The Circle. And then later on at the end of August, we have Billy Bob Thornton and the Boxmasters.
Man, anybody watching that Landman series is hooked. I don't know about you guys. I've been watching it. I'm hooked.
So check us out at pickenstheater.com for all those events.
Yeah, you know, and our Pitch to Pros, right? That's going to be a couple days leading up to this event. This event in the evening is going to be open to the public. So we're going to have a lot of cool stuff. We're going to have a gentleman, Steve Greenberg from NBC, that's going to do his game show host. What the heck is that? We're going to have some live musical guests. We're going to have our funny man, Tommy, coming off of the World
Series of Comedy.
With the trophy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun.
He's going to be there with us, and we're going to have some finalists on the pitch off, which we're not going to tell them, and they still don't know how we're going to pull them out of the audience, but they're going to be, after the couple days of pitching, we're going to call them up. Kind of like The Price is Right, like, you know, come on down. You are one of the finalists, and put them on the spot to pitch. So it should be a lot of fun. And you know, I think about some of the things we got going on as a group and as a team. It's been this group right here has been a lot of fun to work with. You know, we look at all the different venues we've been going on, even with our new show, What's That Big Idea? That's got a trailer now. We're starting to pitch that a little bit more. We're getting to see some of the CBS focus on it. And that's been a lot of fun. You guys have been a big part of it. What amazes me about you guys is the ability to go into a studio and learn new controls with having like 2 hours of training, literally. Like I'm thinking, you know, you've got, it's one thing to be on somebody's show as opposed to producing your own show.
Yeah.
And then having the screens pop up when they're supposed to split what camera's on who, what video's playing, who's on Zoom, who's live playing musical instruments in the studio. It's some pretty cool stuff. And Denny was like, it's a piece of cake. Ed's like, this is no problem.
You do what you got to do. We wear a lot of hats around here.
It is quite the production, literally, to get all that in sync and get everybody on the same page to do something like that. We're talking audio, video, everything.
It's insane.
Nuts.
And when you're doing it live, you can't mess
it
around,
up,
right?
yeah.
You can't mess it up. That's always a part that I find interesting. Hey, Let's talk a little bit about a couple of guests we have on, right? We have Mr. Jim Trocchio. He's a friend of mine, personal friend of mine. He'll be on a little bit. He's our next guest after our commercial break. This guy is just a cool dude. He started out as a young kid, and I'm gonna let him tell the story, but basically his grandmother gave him a camera, he picked it up, found the loving to it, and next thing you know, you see him on the Macy's Parade with Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20, you see him on the Doobie concerts, all these rock bands. I'll let him tell you about that. He's like rocking out, and his photos are amazing. I had the pleasure of having him at my Shark Tank airing party, and he took all the photos and edits them, and just really cool dude. Good,
if you take a look at his blog, it's just full of really cool photos. Him on the stage with these acts and everything is pretty impressive.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's got some cool angles, and it's funny when you think about being a photographer, right? The angle you have to have, and the look you have to see. And then Denny, you got somebody in the artist spotlight, right? Mr. George Francis coming on.
George Francis. So his dad owned the radio station that Love and Hudson, who we just inducted into the Hall of Fame, were on for I don't even know how many years, a lot of years.
50, I think they said 50 years.
That was a very long time.
I can't even imagine doing something for 5 years, let alone 50 years.
And he's done his own thing around the world too. So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. He gave him a brick from the original building as part of that ceremony, the induction ceremony. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I always find that stuff fascinating. How about let's talk a little about the donations that we're looking for to help us continue to do what we're doing, Dendy. Talk about that a little bit, because I think, like, when you look at us as a nonprofit, right? The Hall of Fame is a nonprofit. All of the events we put on, and they're pretty cool events. I mean, you think about all the festivals that are going on, and the Hall of Fame being part of that, and all these inductions, and we're traveling from New York to Myrtle Beach, back up. It's pretty cool. So talk about that a little bit.
Right. So I mean, our whole mission is to make sure that we recognize and elevate the artists, no matter whether it's music or entertainment of any kind, really, theater, plays, television, movies, radio, whatever it is in the state, that we make sure that we recognize and elevate those people and honor them for what, their contribution to what they've done across the state.
Yeah. And I look at, like, after the show we just did in Myrtle Beach, the people coming out, that was cool to me. Like, they were so appreciative. They said, what a great show. Like, who thought of this idea? It brought me back to being a child. And it really is. I mean, listening to Casey Kasem back in the day, I was glued to the radio.
I will say it was a lot more fun to produce the Casey Kasem show and add inductions to that than it was to do an entire induction show. That was very stressful. But
I like I said, like, being on, I'm on a lot of shows, right, throughout the month, whether it's CBS, Fox, or we're in New York at Pix. And being on a show versus producing a show, what a difference. I mean, think about it. You got to write the script. And then, like Tommy said, now you're in control of the entire environment. You have no one to blame other than yourself, right? Making sure the screens are right.
Pressure's on. Yeah.
That's why I think, like, listen to Pat McAfee, right? When they're swearing, somebody's got to bleep them out. And it's pretty stressful.
The bleep guy.
Yeah, you got to hit that button.
Yeah. So this is where we always blame Ed, right? When something goes wrong. But that's pretty hot on the control. So we do a good job with that. But I think this show itself is giving us an opportunity to give back to the community, to let the community know what's going on. We had Garrett Huffman on a couple weeks ago. We had Julian. These guys are playing again at the festival in Charlotte on June 6th. They were just at a couple award ceremonies that they won. So for me, watching these young kids also get an opportunity to be on network television, be in our studio, be in our shows. Matter of fact, he was on the first show. So to me, that's like, that's rewarding, right?
Right.
As an executive of big companies like Ford and BMW, I used to always watch somebody in a plant grow and watch their family get excited. That is the same thing for me now. Now that I'm a little bit older, watching the young generation have their opportunities, knowing how hard it is, to whether you're launching a product or you're an entertainer in music, how hard it is to arrive. So it's been fun to watch.
And to be able to mentor them along the way and give them a what not to do sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're great kids, which makes it a lot easier.
Real quick, before the break, help support the South Carolina Entertainment Music Hall of Fame. We're raising $5,000 for an event booth to showcase our Hall of Fame at concerts, festivals, and special events. Text FAME to 53555 to donate as little as $1 to help preserve our state's entertainment legacy. We'll be right back after the break.
Welcome back to the Fame in the studio with my man Dendy Brooks.
Hey, what's up?
Big Nasty.
Hey, guys.
Funny man Tommy Donovan.
What's up, everybody?
and
Good to be back.
Ed Leese. Hey, we've got a lot of cool stuff happening throughout our community and with the Hall of Fame and a lot of our shows on CBS and Fox. But today we have a really cool, I want to say entrepreneur, because he does a lot of different things, wears a lot of different hats. Started out with a camera. My man, Jim Trocchio. Jimmy, you there?
What's up, buddy? How's it going? Huh?
Good, Jim. How you doing, man? I got so much to talk to you about.
Dude.
It's such a great story.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm in Nashville right now with the Doobie Brothers for rehearsals, but like, we're basically in like a tornado warning right now, and I'm looking out the window of the hotel, and it's insane outside right now.
I'm kind of glad I didn't make that trip this time. I usually love making that trip, but something told me with all the schedules I couldn't do it, and now I see why.
Dude, the sky is like dark. It's sketchy. It's super sketchy.
Yeah.
So if my phone goes dead, this might be it.
All right. Well,
we'll pray for you.
We're gonna get you in this interview right now. Hey, so let's talk about this, right? So I've known you for several years now, and I've always found you to be a really cool dude, really nice guy. But you started out at an early age with this camera, which led you to bands like the Doobie Brothers and my favorite, Matchbox 20 and Rob Thomas and a lot of these other rock bands. And let's talk about that a little bit. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so basically from like 2011 to like 2014, I was taking care of my aunt who was sick, and she was always like a mom to me. So like, it was just what I had to do. And in like 2014, she basically said, let me buy you a camera. I know you love the idea of it. And she gave me her credit card, and I went down to the camera store and bought a camera.
Wait, what kind of camera did you buy? That's what I want to know. You had a credit card. What kind of camera did you buy?
Yeah, it was like a basic like Sony beginner kit. Like you get like 2 cheap lenses and you get like a body, but for $500, it gets you what you need to get.
So now remember like how old I am, right? I'm used to using those 110s with the bulb flashing and all that stuff, right? Where you got to go get the film developed.
Yeah, right. I mean, this was like, it was a mirrorless. Holy hell.
Yep.
Jesus. Sorry. Yeah. It looks like, if you guys could see out the window right now,
the tornado sirens are out.
Yeah, I heard the sirens in the background.
All right.
You okay?
Talk fast.
Yeah. So basically, I got the camera, and like, I just kind of was taking pictures of like trees and power lines, and, I was like, there has to be more to this. And I was just like, how do you get to shoot like your favorite bands? Like, like, how are you even like, who are those people up in front? Like, what do they got to do? And, I wrote a band on Facebook, and I asked them for a photo pass that me and my girlfriend at the time were going to see. And, it was like a shot in the dark. I had zero clue what to do. And they were just nice enough. They were like, hey, yeah, we'll get you a photo pass, and just come to the show. We'll hook you up. And that band is called Turnstile. And they're like one of the biggest bands in the world right now, like in the alternative, like punk rock community. So they were nice enough to do that, and you go from the crowd to right in front of like these bands that you've like loved your whole life, and now you're like right in front, and it's like, holy crap, like what am I doing here?
So was that like a pinch me moment for you?
Oh yeah, for sure. It was like, but like, like I say, it's like, you go from like bouncing around in the mosh pit and like being in different venues, seeing these bands, and then you're like right in front of them. And then the crazier thing over my career and like, my life is like, then they start to know who you are, and then you become friends, and it's so trippy. It's like, it's such a fake reality, but it becomes real somehow, And
it's funny because when you said you had this vision, right, of seeing yourself in the front row, how do I get in the front row? But that's part of it, man. I think that's part of something you have to visualize yourself doing to make it come to reality.
And it was like, it was, in the beginning, like I knew that you had to get some access, and you had to get those people that, you had to know the right people to get you access into the photo pit and like do photos for. And I found a little bit of access that was making zero money, but I was like, okay, if I just put all my effort into this and just take these opportunities, even though I'm not making any money,
right?
Maybe it will pay off somewhere. And then that's when I met like Rob Thomas, and then like he took me on tour, and then that's when everything started to change. And, then you get a whole different billing as like, you're not just a photographer, you're like a tour photographer, or like you're so-and-so's photographer. And then people associate you with him or them or whoever, you know, and it just makes you look better, you know?
And you're right. It's not wanting anything in the beginning, right? It's more of expecting to do right, your opportunity, the love for taking photos of the bands and things you always dreamt of that led to this. So let's talk about like, Matchbox 20. I'm interested in that one.
And it's like this, you know, like any of you guys in the studio, it's like, if any of like your favorite bands or your favorite heroes are like, hey, you know, like, we support what you're doing, or like, maybe not to that point, but like, if you know somebody that's like, hey, I can get you hooked up with so-and-so, I can't really pay you right now, but like, I'll give you all the access that you ever want. You're going to figure out a way to make that work, you know?
Yeah, it's an investment in your personal investment in making it happen.
Exactly.
So let's talk about that.
On yourself.
So let's talk about Rob Thomas and Matchbox, because that's how we met, right? And it's kind of ironic.
Yeah, definitely.
How we met through the love of listening to Matchbox and Rob. How did you end up meeting with Rob, and how did that take off? Because I know you're the main guy now.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you the exact story. I got, this person that was getting me shows and getting me hooked up with people. He was like, I have $500 for you to do the weekend in Atlantic City with Rob Thomas, which, $500 is good money. But like, if you're trying to get a hotel room for 2 nights plus travel, plus everything else, that money goes really quick, you know?
Right.
So, I stayed a half hour outside of Atlantic City in basically a hooker motel for $50 a night.
You do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So I remember the first night I did the show, I go back to the hotel, I'm editing, and you can hear these people basically plowing each other in the next room. And that's what I had to listen to the whole night. And I was just like, hey, this is going to pay off somewhere,
Stay focused.
And, yeah, exactly. And I remember like clearly texting people like, this is what's going on right now. I'm editing pictures of Rob Thomas on my probably sketchiest bed ever, but whatever. But yeah, so I got that offer, and his camp really liked me, and they invited me back the next year, and that was the year before he was going on tour for Chiptooth tour. Mm-hmm. And they were like, hey, he needs a tour photographer. Like, would you be interested? And I knew that was like the next step in my photography journey, where like I was really trying to get to, but it's just not easy. And then they were like, oh yeah, we're going to pay you money, and you're going to travel, and it's all paid for. And it's like, oh my God, this is like, it's like literally, I was just talking to somebody about this today. It's like your movie becomes the movie Almost Famous, if you ever seen that.
Yeah. Right.
Which is a really great movie, but it's all surreal. You just got to appreciate it. And when you're in it, you're in it. And when you're not, it's like, it's just crazy.
We got about a minute left. I have so much more to ask you. Unfortunately, I'm going to have you on again, because there's so many other things that are going to lead into all the different things you're doing, man. I see everything you're doing. You're a good dude, man, and that's what happens, Jim. Good things happen to good people, and you're one of those guys. And I've always appreciated,
you're a good dude too.
Yeah, and I always appreciate the way you certainly handled us and how you took care of us and anything we did. So we're going to go to commercial break, but I was really love having you on. We're going to have you on again, because there's so much more to this story. So, Jim, thanks again.
Don't I got to say some call?
Yeah, go ahead. You got to say the fame. You ready? We're going to call it out on the fame. So on 3, 2, 1, the fame. We'll be right back after this
Be
message.
safe out there, man.
Welcome back to the fame. All the posse's in house, but we got our next guest on, and Dendy Brooks is going to take it from here.
Thank you, Chris. So tonight we have George Francis on. So George's going to be on in just a second and tell you a little bit about himself. George, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello from beautiful Ware Shoals, South Carolina.
Well, hello, George.
And you did say beautiful, because it is beautiful in South Carolina.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely. So, George, we'll jump right into it. Let's see. You performed everywhere from around the country in the U.S., doing backup vocals for a K-pop group on a national TV show in South Korea. How do those different performance settings compare, and what do you take away from each experience?
Well, you did say South Korea, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to hear about
Was it
this.
in North Korea?
Absolutely.
All right.
Definitely not.
Now I
north.
know where we are on the map.
Okay.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. They're both the same yet very different. Both are the same in that they both involve playing music, but both are very different in the specifics of how they're executed. Like, when you're playing on tour and concerts in America, you're playing songs for about 3 hours on stage, and then it's on to the next town. And then, of course, when you're doing TV, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. They're setting up cameras, they're doing their lighting and their sound check and stuff. And then we rehearse the song a few thousand times. And then, of course, if you're like in another country learning a different language, that's a difficult add on to that as well. So we spent about 15 hours to shoot 1 3-minute song. So in both instances, I guess I take away a sense of accomplishment, and I got to do that,
Wow. That's a lot of setup time for one song.
Yeah,
kidding, man.
that is a lot of preparation.
You grew up in a radio family, and you were even helped behind the scenes on the Love and Hudson morning show, which we just inducted Love and Hudson both into the South Carolina Entertainment and Music Hall of Fame. What was it like growing up behind the scenes of a radio, and how did that shape your view of the industry today?
Well, most kids end up following in their parents' footsteps, right? Kind of like your dad sold toilet seats for a living. Well, chances are you sell toilet seats for a living too, I guess. But thankfully, my dad didn't sell toilet seats. He owned and operated radio stations. And so that was for all of my life. And when he created WMYI, My 102.5, he wanted a #1 morning show. And Bill and Howard had already made their mark in Greenville, right before they moved on to another station. And so when their contract expired, we brought him back to Greenville, and the rest is history. And, I got to say, it was an honor of my life to be a presenter at the South Carolina Entertainment and Music Hall of Fame. And actually got to present Bill Love with a brick from his very, very first radio station that's, since been torn down. So he's kind of emotional about that. And that was really cool. And it's also really awesome to work with an amazing group of people like Dr. David Godbold and Justin Ray Williams, and, of course, Rory Costner and Chris Lee. And, of course, we can't forget producer Brandy Lombardo that makes it all come together. It's an amazing – these people know how to put on a really good show. And the live Casey Kasem experience is something everybody should see with a live band. It's an amazing show, and with a guy that sounds remarkably like Casey Kasem. So it's all good.
I thought it was the first time I heard him. I swear to God, I thought it was a recording. I'm like, this guy isn't Casey Kasem.
Right.
Didn't he pass away?
We appreciate the compliment.
Yeah,
There was a lot of
really
work
great.
that went into that.
I'm Casey Kasem, and I'm back from the grave. Coming in at number 40 this week.
He's been practicing.
That's pretty good,
Yeah, he's
right?
been practicing. I like it.
I'm gunning for somebody's job there,
Well, look, we're looking at your resume and the list of celebrities you've worked with. Is there one moment or person or that stands out as a career highlight, someone that truly left an impression on you?
Well, it's really hard to say. I've worked with a lot of people over the years, but I do have to say Edwin McCain was very nice to me when I performed with him. And he happens to be from South Carolina. And Bruce Hornsby was nice to me, as well as Clint Black. I've been lucky a lot to work with a lot of my idols. So I'm really, really grateful for that.
Yeah, Edwin McCain's dad was actually my pediatrician.
Everybody, apparently. He was he was a busy guy.
Absolutely.
We're pulling out all the cards tonight.
Yes, it's like 1 degree from Edwin McCain, you use what you got. You started playing piano at 3, and now you tour internationally with your music, as well as do a travel channel called George's Travels, I saw.
Yeah.
How do you balance being a musician, broadcaster, traveler? How do you make all of those fuel each other?
Well, it's pretty easy. You just don't sleep ever. So every year
we know that drill.
Every year I got to go to Japan, China, and Korea, and I get to play music as well as do a lot of travel things. I do a travel channel, as you mentioned, called George's Travels on YouTube, and I show famous places native to the country I'm in. And this year will be the 10th anniversary of doing the George's Travel series, so I'm pretty glad of that. And then I get to come back home to America and sing the national anthem at the Fluor Field baseball stadium and car races. So it's pretty cool. So check me out online.
That's full circle.
It is full circle.
Yeah, I actually saw your original Facebook Live a while ago.
Oh my
On
God,
YouTube.
that was horrible. That was horrible.
Why does everyone say their first Facebook Live is horrible? You haven't seen horrible until you've
because
seen
they
Roy
were.
Costner do a live. You haven't seen horrible.
Is it on? Is it on? Are we talking? Is it on?
Oh boy,
Yeah, Roy's all over the board.
gotta love Roy.
Look at the ceiling.
Hey,
I love how he
didn't
asked
get
the
to-
viewers
I didn't get
stuff.
to do
Why
the
is it
fame
doing
thing.
this? Like you're supposed to be sitting there anyway. We love you, Roy, just like Ed said.
What'd you say, George?
I didn't get to do the fame thing with y'all. I was practicing all week.
Oh, don't worry. We haven't forgotten.
Oh yeah,
you.
before we get off of this call with you, you're going to do the fame with us. Don't you worry.
So, real quick, tell me what it was like to sing the national anthem at Floor Field in that full circle.
Well, it was really, really awesome. It was very scary because a lot of military people were in the crowd, and if you miss one word of the national anthem, they're all waiting for you outside with them.
Especially
16s.
Big Nasty. You don't want to mess with Big Nasty.
Yeah, don't mess it up.
Right. And my dad being a former Marine, that national anthem had to be beat into me. So it was over quickly, but very scary. I'm glad it's over, but I'm willing to do it more and more times.
I always wondered, like, from an entertainment standpoint, like, I think about Shark Tank and some of it being on Good Morning America, right? Do you get nervous? Like, does an entertainer get nervous? Because when they do, like, and that's something for you, George, you can hear it in your voice, right? It shows up as opposed to, right? So how do you mask that if you are nervous? How do you put that tension away and deliver on the goods?
You forget about it all. You close your eyes and remember the job you got to do, and then try not to sing like Opie from the Andy Griffith Show. Oh, say, can you sing?
Tommy, I've
heard there's
he's
a
running
very-
for some comedy stuff with you.
Yeah.
Very difficult. I heard that song was very difficult to sing anyway.
Yeah, it's an octave apart from the highest note to the lowest note. Plus, it's got a lot of words in it.
Those pesky words.
They'll screw you up every time.
Well, George, thank you so much for being on. And before we go, we're going to count you down in 3, 2, 1. Thank you for being on the
Fame!
Lasers, explosions.
Thank you,
I do have
George.
to ask you something before I go, though.
Yes, sir.
When I first heard of the show, I thought it was one of those video podcasts. So I went out and rented a nice tuxedo and even took a shower for this. But here I find myself sitting in the car on the phone doing an interview in a former Eckerd Drugs parking lot trying to find signal.
Well, don't worry. We have also a couple TV shows, so we'll have you on one of those
send
where
us
you'll
some
have to,
pictures.
you'll have to look
Awesome.
nice and pretty.
Thank you for taking a shower.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I didn't take a shower for this, but I did get a tux rental. I found Justin's credit card at the Casey Kasem Experience and used it.
Oh, that'll bounce.
So some taxes. and fees might apply.
All right, George. I appreciate having you on, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much. I had a great time on the
Fame! All right, we're gonna head over.
Explosion.
We're gonna head over to Big Nasty and get a wounded warrior update.
I don't know if I'll be able to follow that up.
You're not gonna be able to follow that up.
All right, moving right along.
But can you sing the national anthem?
Absolutely not. You do not
tried.
want. You
I
don't want
tried.
any singing coming out of me. No singing coming out of me. All right. At 10 a.m. at the MJ Dolly Cooper Veterans Cemetery, they have a Memorial Day ceremony going on at 10 a.m. on Monday, Memorial Day. And groups
It's coming up already, huh? Memorial
Yeah,
Day's already
Memorial
coming up.
Days are right
Crazy.
around the corner. And as we all like group therapy, Memorial Day group therapy pub and playground has a Monday at 11 a.m. Let's all go down there.
Did you
for
say
group-
pub?
pub?
That's therapy for me. Pub.
Yes,
Pub, right?
that's what I'm talking
Pub and
about.
playground.
It's called Group Therapy Pub and Playground.
Yeah.
Starts at 11 a.m. on Monday.
Yeah, I think they have axe throwing and stuff, don't they?
Yeah, man. So if y'all are down for some group therapy on Memorial Day, I said we all get together.
All right, I like it.
Yeah, man. So just remember Memorial Day's coming up. It's also Mental Health Awareness Month. So check on your buddies, check on your people. Not everybody has seen the end of war. Only the dead have seen the end of war. So check on your people, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan.
All right, cool. All right, just real quick, just remember to help us out with texting to FAME at 53555, 3553555 to help donate and allow the Hall of Fame to continue to do what we're doing. And we'll be right back after this message. All right, we are back on the Fame. We had a really couple great guests on today, Dendy. You want to go over a little bit of what's happening over at the PAC? You know, we have a couple big shows. I'll let you talk about a little bit. Then we're going to roll in to what we're doing with the Pitch to Pros and how that is really the finale is more of a show. We have our funny man Tommy on, who happens to be in our studio with a lot of jokes, fresh off of the World Series. He's got the champion trophy in his hand.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Danny.
Absolutely. So we got some really great things coming up at the PAC. We have Killer Bees Comedy on June the 7th. You saw him on Moonshiners. After that, we have 3 days of Pitch to Pros. Chris will tell you more about that in just a minute. The finale, I think, is at the PAC, right?
It is, yes.
Okay. And then after that, we pretty much took the month of July off. Anderson Country Music Festival will be in town, so we're not trying to compete
I heard
with
a
that.
rumor that we're going to the Opry in Nashville in July.
We are. We're doing a presentation to the Grand Ole Opry on July 15th
Yeah, see?
For
so
their
we're not really taking a month off.
for their 100 year.
Unbeknownst to me.
Oh, no. Did I just tell everybody the good news?
Yeah.
I feel so left out.
Hold on, let me put that on my
Thank God we're not on
calendar.
the radio or anything.
Then finishing up July, we got our mystery dinner that'll run for 2 weekends in a row. It's like a Mayberry style small town kidnapping. And then we have Shelley Belly on August 16th. And then the 21st of August, we have Billy Bob Thornton and the Boxmasters.
Think about that. Billy Bob. You know who Billy Bob is, right? He's the landman. If you haven't watched that series, you need to watch it. It's really cool.
And he was married to Angelina Jolie for a while. So.
Yeah.
hot.
It can't be too bad. So listen, on the Pitch to Pros event, right? We're going to be doing a couple days of it. We got a big VIP event over at the Marriott AC up at the Juniper. I don't call it a restaurant club. It's pretty cool. Overlooks the entire Greenville. But we're going to make that the finale is more of a show, right? We got somebody from NBC coming in, do a game show. We're going to have Benton doing some musical. I guess he was on America's Got Talent, one of the top finalists. That man's got some vocals.
Yeah,
if you
Ben
haven't
Blunt
heard him
could
sing,
sing,
right?
man.
You got to
He could
hear him
sing.
sing. He got some vocals. I mean, you know, if he was doing like a musical thing, he would have won that easily. Obviously, there's comedians and there's
Right.
magicians and dancers and all that stuff. He's got an amazing voice. We're gonna have our funny man, Tommy Donovan.
Oh, I can't wait.
He's here.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the studio, and we're going to turn this over to him now because he's fresh. He's waving the trophy in our face right now.
Yeah.
Let's hear about that.
Just got back fresh off the World Series of Comedy down in Myrtle Beach. What are you doing over there, Ed?
He's waving something in the
He's
air.
doing something
He's using
behind
that
that board
slide
that no one
roll
can see.
again.
No, but it was a great week at the World Series of Comedy at the Comedy Cabana in Myrtle Beach. For those of you who haven't been there, and I'm not just saying Myrtle Beach, but to the Comedy Cabana, what a great venue. The owners, Jeff and Christina Emanuel, are awesome. It's a great room. Employees are top notch. It's just, oh man, was it a fun
Well, that's
time.
pretty good, man. See what happens when you win a trophy? All
Yeah.
the compliments come out.
Yeah.
Now, if he had lost, you know what would have happened. Don't ever go back there.
Right.
Yeah,
Place
don't
is
go to
not
Myrtle
good.
Beach. No, not Myrtle Beach.
We're
No,
never
man.
going back.
No, but it was great. The rooms were hot. They were my people in the audience. It was great. I was able to connect with them and everything. It was just it was a wonderful week where I got to meet comedians, compete against comedians across the country, and learned a lot. Learned a lot about, it's kind of what we were talking about in the previous segment. You have a vision for something you want to do creatively,
Yep.
and you just go out there and do it. And to a certain extent, when you're a creative person, you've got to actually do what you believe in,
Right.
and forget everybody else. And when you do that and you believe in, you make that vision real, things happen.
No, Tommy, you're right. You got to put the white noise out, right? You have
Yeah.
a vision. You have to just set the goals in place and go after it. And forget about the naysayers or any of the white noise around you because it won't happen if you listen to it.
Yeah.
right?
So
I
it's
think that's
super
a good move.
So it was a great experience. Once again, I can't talk enough about how awesome the venue at the Comedy Cabana is. When you go to Myrtle Beach, there's a lot of things to do. You can get lost in the minutia of all the different stuff that you can do down there. Give them a visit. They have great comedians coming through. It's a great mom and pop owned venue. Awesome. Now I'd probably change where I stayed. You know, when I went to Myrtle Beach, because there's all kinds of things, all kinds of places you can go. I thought I'd save some money and stay at like at a cheap motel. You know?
No, you didn't.
No,
Not
and,
at Myrtle Beach. No,
yeah.
you didn't.
I stayed at a shady motel. You know how you can tell you're staying at a shady motel? Is when it's called a motel. It's ridiculous.
That
Hotel,
typically helps.
motel, holiday Inn.
There's a difference between a hotel and a motel. You know what it is? The people at a hotel are on a trip. The people at a motel, man, they tripping. They are. Yeah. And the place I was staying at wasn't hotel status. In spite of all the hoes you could tell were hanging out outside the place. I pulled in and the venue said, check out our VD rates. What? I was like, God, I hope that's left over from Valentine's Day. Ooh. Interesting fact, though. You know, I learned this about Myrtle Beach. Did you know that it was mostly undeveloped until the early 1900s? It was at that time that a timber company extended a railroad into the area so men could haul their lumber in and out on trains. Well, based on what I saw at that motel, not much has changed. So it was a good time. And I'm sure you guys had a good time down there at Myrtle Beach. It's good.
We were right
good
down the
place
road
to
from
be.
you. We saw the cabana as we were traveling.
You passed by it. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, speak for yourself. Now, I wasn't done.
I wasn't looking for any
at
timber
Greg Roll's,
trunks.
theater, Legacy Theater. Not easy.
So I had a chance to spend time with my kids. I brought them down with me, my teenagers, and I learned a lot about. So we like to talk about pop culture in this segment, like what's going on, trending news and stuff like. Well, I figured we'd talk a little bit about language. Like, sometimes it's hard to keep up with the youngins and what they like to say. Like,
I agree with
Have you
that.
ever heard somebody if you've heard somebody like a 20-something refer to something as mid? Do you know what that means? Man,
Yes.
that's mid. Ed knows. Do y'all know?
No.
Ed, do you
No
want to
idea.
answer for us? If someone's, you don't.
I don't have a mic.
Don't worry, we can still hear you. We can hear you.
So I mean, it's like, oh man, these cheese fries, they're mid. That means that they're not good, right? They're not. They're average. They're not good nor bad. You know what I'm talking about? So
Mid-grade.
So yeah, exactly. That's one way to look
Well,
at
I
it.
learned something new. I didn't have to Google it.
Yeah, I got another one for you. How about if you heard somebody talk about throwing hands?
No.
I have.
Do you know what throwing hands means?
Absolutely.
All right,
Fighting?
what Yeah, that's it. Very good.
Okay.
I'm not going to throw hands over this, but yeah. So Big Nasty, you got it.
Lucky guess.
Yeah.
I better have it.
That's right. All right, I got another one for you. Ready? So if somebody refers to a beige flag, like Denny, you have teenagers or gonna be teenagers.
Oh, they're definitely
real soon.
teenagers.
They're probably using this kind of term. Like if they met somebody and they had a beige flag, what does that mean?
Are they boring?
Ed, do you know?
I have no idea.
How about this?
I
You're
got
dating
nothing.
somebody and there's a red flag. What does that mean?
Obviously, stay away.
Yeah.
No, that's the one you hook onto.
Chris is
No,
crazy.
you don't want a red flag.
Yeah, you do. That's the fun one.
Chris can afford it, but he still voluntarily stays at the motel.
No, a red flag is a no-no. And then a green flag would be like, oh man, a red flag, they drive a Prius. You know, something like that. But a beige flag would be neither good nor bad. Like, just an interesting fact.
You saying like a Camry?
Well, something sensible like a Honda.
I've never heard that.
No, that's the news. That's why I'm bringing this out.
Wow.
All right, I got one more for
I
you.
didn't think I was going to get educated on this show.
Yeah, well, I think one of the reasons why we don't get any of this is because we're all in UNC status. Mm-hmm. Do you know what UNC status is? Ed's shaking his head yes.
No.
UNC status.
No.
As an uncle?
There you go, UNC status. So you're basically the old person, the patriarch of the group, the person who's boring and not fun anymore. Like my daughter was talking to her friends, and she was talking about turning 19, and her friends were like, "Oh, you've reached UNC status," because she was getting old.
At 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. At
I
19.
must be grandpa.
We're dead.
Right.
Let's give up now.
Wow, we're
Sorry,
in a lot of trouble.
Sorry, Chris.
I got to go make a fake ID.
There you go. There you go. Well, I figured I would share that. That's a little education for us to share.
So
with
can
the
we
pop
can
culture
you
front.
pass your trophy around with us so we can take it home
Yeah,
and all that
absolutely.
stuff?
Yeah, we don't want to drop it.
Are you big enough to be canceled now?
Yeah. No, not yet. No,
Then
we're
won't-
working on it.
Then we won't tell the last joke so we don't get canceled.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Denji.
Real quick on the way out, don't forget to support the South Carolina Entertainment Music Hall of Fame so we can raise our $5,000 for our event boost so we can showcase our Hall of Famers at concerts, festivals, and special events. Text FAME to 53555 to donate as little as $1 and help preserve our state's entertainment legacy. Thank you all. We will see y'all next week on the
Fame. See you next week.